I step into the diner and the waitress looks up like she has been waiting for me all night. Her mouth tightens. She does not smile. She says, quiet but sharp, "You really came back after what you did." The bell over the door is still shaking when the chain rattles against the glass. I glance back. The door chain is latched from the inside. I stand there with rainwater dripping off my jacket, hand still on the handle, and I know that makes no sense. I just pulled the door open. I just walked in. The storm outside is heavy enough to blur the highway lights into smeared white lines. The windows are fogged at the edges. The whole place smells like old coffee that never stops brewing. I say, "I think you have the wrong person." She wipes her hands on her apron as if she has touched something dirty. I do not. I do not. She leans in and lowers her voice. "Don't do that. Not tonight." A booth near the window holds a man in a soaked cap. He keeps his face down, stirring sugar into a cup that is already full. Two truckers sit at the counter and stare at their phones. The cook moves behind the pass-through window like a slow shadow in a white hat. The song on the jukebox is something old and soft, the kind that makes the air feel thick. A female voice reaches the line, "I never meant to leave you," and then the record pops and restarts at the exact same lyric. "I never meant to leave you." The waitress does not react, like she expects it. I slide into the nearest booth, because standing with that chain behind me makes my skin prickle. The vinyl seat sticks to my wet jeans. I look again at the door. The chain sits in its bracket, pulled taut. The latch plate is fixed to the frame. It is not hanging loose. It is not broken. I try to think through the last 5 minutes. I pull off the highway because my wipers cannot keep up and the world outside my windshield turns to gray water. The diner's sign is the only thing that looks real, neon glowing through rain. I park under a buzzing light. I run to the door. The chain should have been slack, hanging, or at least visible before I open the door, but I do not remember seeing it until I am already inside. The waitress brings a menu that is soft at the corners. She sets it down like a warning. "Oh, yes please." She leaves without writing it down. Her shoes squeak on the tile. The song hits the lyric again. "I never meant to leave you." Was it? Same lyric. I glance toward the jukebox. The display glows a dull green. The track number does not change. The man in the cap lifts his eyes just enough to look at me. His gaze is flat, tired, and familiar in a way that makes my stomach tighten. I turn away. My phone shows 1 bar. No service. The store must be messing with it. The clock over the kitchen reads 1:17, but the second hand stutters, pausing at the top of each minute like it forgets what comes next. The waitress returns with coffee and sets it down with a small clink. Her hand shakes once, just once, then steadies. "You want the usual?" I stare at her. I have never been here. What is the usual? She looks past my shoulder, toward the door. "You know." Her eyes flick to my hands. That is when I notice my knuckles are scraped, thin red lines half washed clean by rain. I do not remember hitting anything. I do not remember falling. I wrap my fingers around the mug to hide them. The coffee is too hot, like it has been sitting on a burner and then freshly poured at the same time. The song restarts again. "I never meant to leave you." On the third restart, the truckers at the counter finally react. One of them, broad-shouldered with a gray beard, looks up and says to nobody, "That thing stuck again." The cook does not answer. The waitress does not answer. The bearded trucker turns his head toward me, eyes narrowing. "You the one who keeps messing with it?" I shake my head. He snorts and goes back to his phone. The waitress leans closer. Her perfume is powdery and old. "Don't make them notice you." Why would they notice me? She does not answer. She walks away, and I watch her until she disappears behind the counter. I catch my reflection in the window. My hair is plastered to my forehead. My face looks pale and drawn, like I have been awake for a day. Outside, a car passes on the highway, headlights slicing through rain. For a second, the light sweeps across the diner door. The chain glints. It is still latched. I slide out of the booth and move toward it, slow. The waitress calls from behind me. "Sit down." I keep going. The tiles are gritty with tracked in salt and mud. I stop at the door and lean close. The chain is pulled tight, but the door is closed. How did I open it? I reach toward the chain. The waitress's voice sharpens. "Dulled." My fingertips hover an inch away. The metal looks warm, like it has been rubbed. I notice something else. The glass around the chain is smeared on the inside, as if a hand has pressed there, dragged it down, left a faint oily print. Not my hand. My sleeve is wet, not oily. I step back. The song restarts again. "I never meant to leave you." The man in the cap stands up suddenly. His chair scrapes. Everyone goes still in that diner way, where nobody wants to be the one to look first. He walks toward the door, but he does not look at it. He looks at the floor, like he is tracking something. I follow his eyes. A shadow lies across the tiles near the entrance, long and angled, like someone is standing just outside under the neon. But there is no one there. The stormy night beyond the glass is empty. The shadow shifts, not with the headlights outside, not with a flicker of the sign. It moves as if it has joints. The man in the cap whispers he's early. The waitress says, "Not tonight." "Please?" The bearded trucker at the counter laughs once, sharp and nervous. "Early is bad." I want to ask what they are talking about, but my mouth goes dry. The shadow on the floor stretches farther into the diner, reaching past the welcome mat. It crawls along the grout lines like it can feel them. The chain on the door trembles, a tiny vibration, as if something on the other side has touched the door without pushing. I step back into the aisle. The man in the cap sits back down, but he does not take his eyes off the floor. The waitress moves behind the counter and pulls open a drawer. I hear metal clink. She sets something down out of sight. The song restarts. "I never meant to leave you." This time, the singer's voice warps on the last word, like tape stretched too thin. "I never meant to leave." Restart. My phone buzzes. One notification, no signal. A calendar reminder that I did not set. "Pay your tab." I swipe it away and it comes back, immediately. "Pay your tab." My hands shake. I look at the receipt holder on the table. It is empty. I walk to the counter. The waitress watches me, eyes wide now, fear stripped of annoyance. What did you mean? What I did? She swallows. You left him waiting. Oh, she nods toward the door without looking. The shadow reaches the edge of the counter now, pooling like ink. Oh, I say, I don't know him. Her voice cracks. You always say that. Always. The word lands hard. I glance at the clock. 1:17. The second hand stutters. The bearded trucker stands and walks toward the restroom hall, fast, like he wants to be anywhere else. His boots slap wetly. The other trucker stays on his stool, knuckles white around his phone. The man in the cap speaks again, louder. If it comes in before he does, it gets to choose. Choose what? Nobody answers me. The shadow lifts just a little from the tiles. It forms a shape that resembles a shoulder, an arm. It is not attached to anything. It is a cutout of darkness, slightly darker than the dim diner lighting should allow. Then it moves like it is walking. No footsteps, just a shift of dark. It stops at my feet. I feel the air go cold around my ankles, like standing near an open freezer. The waitress whispers, "Don't let it touch you." I jump back. My heel catches on a chair leg and I stumble. The shadow flows forward to fill the space I vacate. The song starts again. I never meant to leave you. The singer's voice is closer now, like the sound is not coming from the jukebox, but from behind the walls. My mind tries to hold on to normal details. Cully, store, diner, but the chain on the door is still latched, and the shadow is walking without a body. I stare at the glass. Rain runs down it in thick lines. Lightning flashes, and for one frame of brightness, I see the outside clearly. No one stands there, but there's a second shadow on wet pavement, right at the threshold. It is shaped like a tall man, hat brim, shoulders squared, and it is facing away from the diner, like it belongs to someone who is not yet here. The waitress presses her palms to the counter. She is bracing herself. He is late. The man in the cap says, he's always late now. The shadow at my feet tilts as if it hears them. My phone buzzes again. Pay your tab. I feel a sick certainty that the tab is not money. I say, tell me what's happening. The waitress's eyes fill with tears she refuses to let fall. You came in last time soap like that, with those scraped hands, and you asked for coffee like nothing happened. Then you went to the door and you unlatched the chain. I look at the chain. My throat tightens. She continues, you held it open for him. You shouldn't have. But who? Her voice drops to a whisper so small I can barely hear it over the rain. For the one who is not supposed to come inside. The shadow on the floor swells taller now, almost reaching my knees. It is learning the shape. The man in the cap says, the owner's on his way. The shadow always arrives early now, like it's impatient, like it wants to get in and settle. Settle where? He looks at me for the first time full on. His eyes are bloodshot. His face is familiar in the way a dream face is familiar. On you. The lights flicker. The neon outside buzzes loud. The door chain clinks once as if tugged. The shadow moves closer, and I feel my skin crawl where it approaches, like static before a shock. I back away until my hip hits the counter. The waitress reaches under the counter and pulls out what she grabbed earlier, a small pair of bolt cutters. She holds them like a weapon, hands trembling. I say, what are you doing? She looks at the chain, fixing what you broke. She steps toward the door, fast, before I can stop her. The shadow surges in her direction, stretching like it is hungry. No, 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 the man in the cap mutters. The waitress lifts the bolt cutters to the chain. The metal jaws close around one link. The shadow leaps, not as a creature but as a sudden wave of darkness that climbs up her legs. She gasps and freezes, eyes going wide and unfocused, like she just remembered something she tried to forget. The bolt cutters slip from her hands and clatter on the tile. The shadow coils around her waist. I grab her arm. Her skin is icy. She does not look at me. She looks past me, at something behind my shoulder. I turn. The glass of the door is fogging from the inside now, breath blooming on it in a wide oval that is too high to be mine. Words appear in the fog, drawn by an invisible finger. Huh. The song restarts again. I never meant to leave you. Only now, under the lyric, there is another sound layered in, low and rhythmic, like someone knocking from far away. The shadow at the base of the door inside the diner stretches upward, meeting the fogged breath mark. It is trying to line up with the shape outside. The owner is finally close enough that his absence has a weight. The chain rattles again. The waitress's lips move without sound. I lean in. She whispers if it gets in before he does, it will wear whoever opens it. I stare at the door handle. My wet fingerprints shine on the metal. I did open it. Somehow. My phone buzzes so hard it feels like a heartbeat. Pay your tab. The lights flicker again and stay dim. The jukebox crackles. The lyric plays, restarts, like the diner is stuck on the moment right before something enters. I look down. The shadow is not just on the floor anymore. It's on my shoes. It crawls up the laces with patient certainty, like it has been here before and it knows exactly where to go. I yacht my foot back, but the darkness moves with me, clean without friction, as it is not on the surface but inside the light itself. Behind the fogged glass, a silhouette finally approaches through the rain. A tall man shape, hat brim, shoulders squared, but his shadow is already inside, wrapped around my feet. The chain starts to slide in its bracket, not unlatched by a hand, but pulled link by link, as if the door is learning how to open itself. I reach for the bolt cutters on the floor, my fingers close around cold metal. The waitress grabs my wrist, eyes pleading, voice raw. Don't you dare open it again! The chain makes one last metallic click, and the door handle turns a fraction on its own. The song restarts at the exact same lyric. I never meant to leave you, and the shadow on my shoes rises, like it stands up inside me, ready to greet its owner the moment the chain gives way.